you can go ahead.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. I have the pleasure of Renee Roberts speaking tonight for us, and this is our first free, I don't know what to call it, webinar or information session on just living life fully, healthy, and holistically. So Renee, if you want to take us through some of the expertise that you want to share with us tonight.
Absolutely. And if you see me looking away, it's because I'm looking at notes, because I had to put notes together for this. But yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about ways you can boost your energy throughout the day and kickstart your metabolism. So hopefully this will help you guys. I'm very interested in this kind of information, so I hope you guys are too. But before I kick it off, one thing I do want to talk about is I have both, ways to boost your energy and your metabolism. They are two different things. I'm going to talk about ways you can just keep your energy going throughout the day. So that's one thing. And then I want to say, okay, how can you kickstart your metabolism or get your metabolism revving? And that's a little bit different, but it does help with your energy in the long run. So our metabolism is basically our body's way of changing food into energy. And our bodies need this energy to do everything from moving around to thinking to learning to growing, everything. So I will go into that a little bit as well. And I have 9 tips for you guys that I'm going to go through, and I'll talk about what helps for just keeping you energized through the day versus what will help your metabolism. So I hope this helps. So I'll just go ahead and get into it, and feel free to, chime in anytime if you have any questions. I know Jen's going to keep an eye on the chat. Feel free to put it in the chat if you have a question, or just unmute yourself and chime in and ask a question. But I'll go through and start with my tips that I have, and they're in no particular order. They are just things that I found that have helped me in the past, and things that I've learned through reading a ton of articles and research and through school that has helped. So the first thing I want to talk about, and I think this is the number one thing, is number one tip is to stay hydrated. You want to drink water throughout the day. Dehydration can affect your brain function. It can affect your mood and your energy levels. So when you drink water, it obviously hydrates your entire system, and it's vital for your cell tissue and tissue regeneration, organ regeneration. It's vital for every system in your body. It helps deliver oxygen to your muscles. And by doing that, it actually boosts your body's energy. So if you want to boost your energy first thing in the morning, which is a really good thing to do to get yourself going for the day, I suggest drinking at least 20 ounces of water when you wake up. And why? Well, water helps keep the enzymes and our bacteria flowing through our digestive system. And so when you sleep through the night, obviously your digestion is, it's still going, but you're not really passing anything. You're not removing waste when you're sleeping. So what you want to do is get your bowels moving in the morning. So you want to get into the habit of eliminating all that waste first thing in the morning, so so some of that waste doesn't get reabsorbed. The nutrients from the waste doesn't get reabsorbed back into your system, because you want to get it out of your system. So by doing that, it gives you an instant energy boost. So I recommend, what I like to do, I'm a coffee drinker, but before I drink my coffee, I actually drink 2 cups of warm lemon water before I go into my coffee. So it gives me that something warm to drink. But it's really easy. I just, either put a lemon in, or I use essential oil, like a drop of lemon essential oil, pop it in the microwave for 30 seconds and just get it warm enough. And I drink 2 cups of that before I even think about drinking anything else.
Renee, I too have been doing that for a while, and I probably read it or someone told me. What is the lemon? Is it just maybe to flavor the water, or is there an advantage to having lemon in the morning?
So what I've heard is that lemon actually helps your system detox. It is a detoxing type of agent. If you look at any kind of detox tea, it's going to have lemon in it.
Right.
So so I find it works really well, and it does flavors the water if you want something different. But you don't have to do it. That's what I do. But it's just good to get water in your system first thing in the morning to get yourself hydrated for sure. So it does help, and it helps get your system going.
And Renee, it's the oils in the skin of the lemon, right? As opposed to the actual lemon itself. It's the flavoring part of the oils.
Yeah, you want the oils from the skin. That's the really good part of any fruit, is the actual rind where the oils are. So if you don't have, I used to do lemon all the time, but I actually am not a big fan of flavored water. I'd rather just have plain water. But I find just having a couple, 1 drop to 3 drops of essential oil works just as well, for me at least, if you don't have lemon. And it's easier because you can just have it and, 1 drop, that's your essential oil will last forever. So instead of having to cut lemon every time. So yeah, for sure. But I think it's just the fact, and I find that it gets my digestive system going. I first thought it used to be coffee that did it, but it's not. It's actually just the act of putting something in your system. And for me, it gets my system going, and it's perfect because that's what you want it to do, for sure. Yeah. So, you want to stay hydrated throughout the day as well. You drink when you're thirsty, but also drink when you're not thirsty, because as we get older, we tend to not know when we're thirsty as often as we did when we were younger. So, it's always nice to have just a glass of water with you throughout the day and just drink it. And if you need to, then actually record your, how much you're drinking. The average, I think what you're supposed to drink is, if you take your body weight in pounds and divide that in half and change it to ounces, that's really what you should be drinking per day in water, which usually equates to about 8 cups of water, at least through the day. You do need more if you are exercising, working out, because you sweat. So think of that as well. Water also helps with boosting your metabolism. So your body needs water to process the calories. So if you're even mildly dehydrated, your metabolism may actually slow down. And there was a case study where they studied adults who drank 8 or more glasses of water per day. They actually burned more calories than those who only drank 4, so half that amount. So I thought that was kind of interesting as well.
Yeah.
So I think water is just good for you in general, like not just for energy and metabolism. It's just good for you. I think it's, everybody knows that, but yeah, so that's probably all I can say about water. Tip number 2, which I'm a big fan of is get more sleep. I call myself a vitality coach, because I like to actually focus on getting sleep and getting energy. But sleep is so important. I can talk an hour just about sleep, but it's something that is very important to us, but we tend to put it on our back burner when we get busy. So everybody knows, you've all felt it, lack of sleep will result in you feeling lethargic, grumpy, tired. So obviously that's not going to boost your energy if you're tired. So, it's recommended that you aim for around 7 hours of sleep per night. I've heard more, like 7 to 8. Some I've read that even 7 to 9, but some people may require more than that. Some people may require a little less. It's all up to you, but you need to figure out what your sweet spot is regarding the amount of hours of sleep. But you don't want to function on 4 hours or 5 hours. That's for sure. If you don't sleep as much as you need to, there are things you can do to actually help with that. You can do relaxing activities before bed, having a bath, reading a book. Things you want to avoid, obviously, are anything that emits blue light, like TVs, phones, screen time, you want to limit that at least an hour before bed. If you're one of those people that tend to wake during the night due to stress or worries, you wake up with an active brain. That's what happens to me. You can try meditation or breathing exercises or mindfulness practices to help you calm your mind. And if you do find that you're not getting enough sleep and you want to make some changes, I do suggest you do gradual changes. Change your bedtime by like 10-minute increments each night until you hit your sweet spot, whether it's that 7-hour mark, 8-hour mark, or whatever. Around boosting our metabolism, when our body is sleep deprived, our metabolism will slow down to conserve energy. So it's very important to actually get good quality sleep for sure. Any questions around sleep? I'm just curious. Do you guys think you actually get enough sleep? I find that a lot. Yeah, for sure.
What's really common, Renee, is if something's going on in your life and you do have that active brain, or you're dealing with something stressful, how do you shut that brain down to be able to fall asleep? And if you're exhausted enough because you haven't slept well and you're able to fall asleep like what you described, and then you wake up and your mind is just racing, what do you do in those cases? And
yeah,
it is hard.
It is hard, and everybody's different in that way. I found for me personally, when I wake up in the middle of the night, I have to literally, I've tried, hypnotherapy, like I have those apps on my phone, but I find just the one thing that works the best for me is don't turn on any lights, don't get out of bed, don't pick up your phone, and literally lay there with your eyes closed, don't open them, and just calm, think, and really don't think. I basically look at nothing in my eyes. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like almost like you're trying to form images and, with your eyelids closed. But that's what works for me when I start to think about things.
I know in the past for me, I have used various apps, Calm being one of them, and like the sleep one, whether it was music or they would do, oh my goodness, I can't think of the word, but it was almost like the body, they would go through the body parts, body scan, or various breathing techniques. And depending on the night and so forth, they were quite good. I did end up having a notepad beside my bedside. And like what you said, don't get out of bed, but if there was something I was worrying about, actually write it down, similar to journaling and why they say writing down things is effective.
Yep.
Now, I wasn't always able to go back to sleep and say, hey, I put it on the paper, I'll handle it tomorrow. But for some people, that is enough for it to work. I've written it down, I will address it, but now it's time to sleep. So that could work for some as well.
Yeah, exactly. I've had to do that as well. Unfortunately, I do everything on my phone. So I would have to actually get my phone and type things out. But I know. And the funny thing is, I talked to somebody when we were talking about meditation. I was in a meeting, and somebody had a good suggestion, is that mentally you can actually write a little Post-it note in your mind. And that seems to work for people as well, is mentally write that little Post-it note in your mind. And it's the same thing as doing a brain dump, but instead of really writing it, you're just mentally writing it. So that could be a suggestion as well. Yeah.
Luckily, I don't suffer from that racing mind, at least not yet. But what I find is before I go to bed, if I do breathing techniques like, breathe in for 5 seconds, hold for 5, out for 5, hold for 5, and then, or whatever the technique might be, like that often works really well to calm me down. If I've been out running or something right before bed, I find that it also clears my mind because I'm concentrating on the seconds that I'm breathing in and holding, and I'm not very good at multitasking, so I have to actually concentrate on the number of seconds it takes to breathe in and out. And I'm wondering, like, if that would help someone with a racing mind in the middle of the night to get back into that, rhythmic breathing, which it calms me down at the end of a day, maybe.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. you know, that's all part of the mindfulness exercises. And yeah, for sure, that definitely does help. And there's various types of breathing exercises you can do. You're talking about like the box breath, you know, holding for a number, pausing for a number. There's a different types that you could do as well. I've also done, I'm not a big, I shouldn't say I'm not a big fan, but I have a hard time meditating. But what I found is candle meditation works very well for me. If you light it, and I've done this in the middle of the night, light a candle and stare at the candle. And it's just like staring at any type of fire. Like it's mesmerizing, and everything goes away for me when I look at that. So that's another thing to do as well. Yeah, there's all kinds of things. Yeah, so, you know, obviously sleep is very important. But as Chris mentioned, you know, I want to go right into the number 3 tip is exercise. And I put this right after sleep because exercise, we know, almost guarantees you that you will sleep more soundly if you actually do regular exercise during the day. So that will inevitably help you with your energy levels. If you exercise, you get better sleep, you'll get better energy the next day. But it also gives our cells more energy to burn and circulates oxygen through the body. And it can also lead to higher dopamine levels, which elevates our mood. And so just doing that will boost our energy. And then around boosting metabolism, exercise is very important. So fun fact, after the age of 30, we steadily lose muscle mass.
No.
So how we train as we get older is very important. So strength training becomes very important in later in life. And, you know, it helps with muscle loss and maintaining muscle fiber. And our bodies use energy to repair the muscles that we break down while we're strength training, which naturally increases our metabolism when it happens. It's also known that muscles burn more calories at rest than fat. So increasing your muscle mass helps you burn more calories at rest, thus increasing your metabolism. I like to talk about cardio because women my age, I should say, we've learned from back in the day. I love telling this little anecdote, but you know, back in the day when we used to do the buns of steel, you know, and you know, all those aerobic exercises, you know, and we were told to eat 1,000 calories a day to lose weight, and just, you know, do a bunch of cardio. Cardio is healthy for you. It's very good for your heart. But too much cardio can actually stress your body and slow down our metabolism. So you want to have a healthy balance when you are exercising. Cardio is great, but make sure you're also doing strength training along with that. Some easy ways to you know, get going if you are one that doesn't exercise as often is just increase your step count per day. You know, try a nice brisk walk. And try to get walking at various inclines to increase our fat metabolism. High intensity interval training is another great workout because that's known for creating the afterburn, where your body continues to burn calories for several hours after a workout if you hit, you know, so many minutes in that session. And you know, to kind of, you know, go back on sleep a little bit, you want to avoid any kind of vigorous activity, you know, right before bedtime, because that will get you going. It gives you the energy, but probably when you don't really want all that energy because you want to actually start, you know, calming everything down before bedtime. So going on to the next tip, which kind of is related to exercise, but I kept it separate, is get outside. You can, you know, if you can exercise outside, it's even better. But I wanted to make this a separate tip because many of us, especially now, given, you know, getting through the pandemic, we've spent a lot of time inside our homes. with either air conditioning on or heating on, and just having just that environment alone will drain us of energy because we're not getting outside, we're not getting as much sunlight. So what you want to do when you get outside, if you can, is make sure you're clearing your mind and be present with nature. I don't know if you guys have heard about forest bathing, but there's a term in Japanese for forest bathing called Shinrin-yoku, I think is how you say it. And it literally means to walk quietly among the trees. And it's very good for boosting your energy. And apparently, I'm not an expert in this, but apparently it helps boost your energy because according to the Japanese, they receive from the trees this form of essential oils out of the trees, which induce relaxation and give you an energy boost. So I know since the weather has been getting better outside, I've been going on hikes through the local park near me. And, you go through the little paths, and it really does. It's really nice to get out there. Number one, I'm getting the exercise. I'm going up and down, getting different inclines, but you're just among the trees, and it's just so peaceful. So you really want to, to get outside, find a park, or even walk through a street, lined with trees. And if you can't get outside, then find an open window and sit by it, open it up, breathe in the outside air, and that will help as well. If you have plants in the house, sit near a plant, just be able to just kind of get with nature. So that really helps.
It's funny you mention that, because when I go for runs, I will do trail and road running for cardio. And I'm always more invigorated when I'm running the trails. And for some reason, but now that you mention it, when you're breathing in the air through a trail, for whatever reason, it just feels that much more fresh, and you almost have this extra little bounce. I don't know if maybe it ties into that the Japanese saying or whatnot, but I can certainly understand. It just smells cleaner and fresher. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can get behind that statement.
Yeah. And it's funny because I've never really heard about forest bathing until just recently, but now I've heard a lot about it. So I think, there's something to it for sure.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And what is it? Is forest bathing or baiting?
For bathing, like bath, like, forest bathing.
I haven't heard of that.
Yeah.
I love being in nature though. And it does, it just livens you up as opposed to working out, the elliptical in the basement is not the same.
So yes. Thing that like the essential oils from the trees are somehow are out in the air around.
I think so. I'm not an essential oil expert by any means, or an expert in forest bathing, but that's what I've heard. Is that what it is? Because of course, I want to find out. I hear about this. I'm like, well, I don't understand. Why does it work? So that's what I've been able to come up with. Yeah. Cool. So very neat. Okay, so tip number 5. This is a big one. Is control your stress. So any emotions that are stress induced consume huge amounts of energy. So, if you can just, do anything to control that, it will help. It will give you more energy and stop zapping you of energy. So talking with a friend or relative, or joining a support group, or just, hanging out with friends and family. All of this can help diffuse stress. You can also do relaxation therapies like meditation, deep breathing, yoga, tai chi. They're also effective tools for reducing stress. So I think that's pretty much a given. Like, I don't know, when you think back to when you're stressed, just how much energy that takes away from you mentally and physically. And so I'm going to go right into the next one because it's very similar. Number 6 is to lighten your load. So one of the main reasons for fatigue is overwork. And overwork doesn't just mean work. It can mean professional work, but it also mean work with family or social obligations. So the best thing you can do with this is, streamline your list of must-do activities and set your priorities, in terms of do the most important tasks first, and pare down the activities that are less important. And consider asking for extra help when necessary.
Now, Renee, when between the last two, like the last tip and this tip, reducing the stress and, looking for support and so forth. What is your advice for, sometimes it's hard to reduce that stress, whether it's in your job, whether it's maybe something health related, it's you're waiting on news, whatever the case, sometimes you can't get rid of the stress. Is there other strategies, and you mentioned meditation and going to friends, is there other strategies that you think could be helpful? I know for myself, I've used distraction techniques where just something to take my mind off of waiting for something, or, if I'm doing a presentation and getting my mind off that, so working on something else. Is there anything that you could recommend in those cases where you really can't avoid the stress? I know we can all eliminate, but there's some situations, losing a job, death in the family, health issues, where and that's what I more mean. I know we can all reduce it. Do you have suggestions in that case on what individuals could do to help? You can't, get rid of it, but just to get through those times?
I think if you've tried like all the self-help kind of therapies like meditation, yoga, tai chi, deep breathing, even doing a brain dump, stuff like that. If you've tried all of those, and I think that's where it comes into play, asking for help, but also maybe getting help from a professional as well, like seeking therapy or working with a coach, or just, having somebody that you can talk to. I don't want to call it an accountability partner because that's not the right, but you know what I mean? Working with someone that can help you through it, whether it's a family member or a friend, to just be able to be there so that you can vent, or that you can, talk about it and get it off your mind. Because a lot of times too, at least from my, experience, is a lot of my stress is in my head, and I'm sure other people have that. It's just like, if you can just stop your brain and stop the stories in your head, sometimes that works enough. But other times, if it's really, really bad, then you need to, definitely seek help. Right. Because you don't want to continue that. You want to get the right support. For sure. And, and that's why I think too, prioritizing and just figuring out, and I think that's where people like the professional support can come in and say, okay, let's prioritize, let's see what's going on in your life, and let's see what we can do and what we can pass off, and, how can we help? So, yeah.
I think it was you and I talking about journaling and how popular that is. You and I aren't big, it's not a case of not being fans, but it's just not our thing, which, is okay. But whether it's journaling and just writing it out, or possibly gratitude journal. So I will do, whether it's mental note of what I'm grateful for or thankful for, or actually having a journal and writing out the things. I think when you're stressed, when, that is a helpful thing. And it's not a case of there is positive things in my life, but it really is. It's making you realize that you have a lot of great things, and that sometimes distracts you from the situation.
Yeah. One of the other things I would, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I'm not big into meditation or yoga, but a good friend of mine has become very much into meditation and yoga. His blood pressure was like 185 over 85 or 90 or something like that before he started doing meditation and yoga, and he was directed by his doctor to start trying that. And after, I think it was even after just like 2 weeks of doing yoga and meditation, it brought it down to 140 over 80. So I mean, I've never seen that as something that would help me, but seeing my friend go through it is potentially something down the road. Like if I was in that same situation, that I would definitely try it, because I've seen it firsthand help you know, so on. So I think, and I'm
Yeah.
not into the journaling either, Jen. So
Well, if you're into running, Chris, you should be doing yoga. I'm telling you, I'm going to make you a believer.
Yeah, I've tried hot yoga once, and it was just a hot mess, is what it is.
Yeah, not hot. Maybe you shouldn't start with hot yoga, but you could start with gentle yoga. Yoga for runners. You could do that.
Yeah, I could use it probably.
Yeah, awesome. One of the other things I didn't mention, which is really important as well, is that you want to, if you have a lot on your plate and it's stressing you out, you really want to look at the things that you can control versus what you cannot control. That's so important, because if there are things that are happening in your life that you can't control, then you need to not think about those things. You need to just let them be, because you can't do anything about them anyway. But what is it that you can control in your life? And focus on those things, because those are things that you can change. So I think that's important as well. Okay, so let's go on to number 7. And this is a big one for me as a nutrition coach, is you want to eat properly. You want to eat for energy. So you want to look at eating, if you feel lethargic throughout the day, you want to look at eating foods that have a low glycemic index. So those whose sugars are absorbed slowly. They may help you avoid the lag in energy that typically occurs after eating something that's quickly absorbed, sugars that are quickly absorbed, or refined starches. So these types of foods include whole grains, high fiber vegetables, nuts, healthy oils, foods like that. And in general, high carbohydrate foods have the highest glycemic indexes, whereas proteins and fats typically have very low or close to 0 glycemic indexes. So those are some things you can think about if you actually do have low energy through the day, what you can do to eat. Around boosting your metabolism, you can absolutely, your diet does play a big role in boosting your metabolism. One of the big things, again, I mentioned earlier about, eating like 1,000 calories a day to lose weight. That actually can be detrimental. If you're not eating enough, your body will slow down your metabolism, because it thinks it's in starvation mode. So you really want to make sure you are eating enough. You're eating throughout the day. Don't skip meals. You want to spread your meals out. And you want to focus on nutrient-dense foods and eliminate chemicals. So read those labels. You want to make sure you're also getting enough fiber. Fiber is so good for you regardless of, for any reason, but it reduces inflammation. It promotes a healthy digestive system. It reduces risk of heart disease, and increases our metabolism, because it takes energy for our bodies to break down the fiber, and which in turn burns more calories. So examples of high fiber foods: fruits, including bananas, oranges, strawberries; vegetables like carrots, beets, broccoli, potatoes, beans, legumes; whole grains, including brown rice, quinoa, nuts and seeds. And then lastly, you want to eat protein. And we talked a little bit about it when we were talking about strength training. If you are doing strength training, protein becomes very important, because there's a process that's called muscle protein synthesis, which helps us build and repair our muscles. So as I mentioned earlier, this process actually slows down as we age, causing our muscles to degrade or degenerate. So consuming protein in conjunction with strength training will help stimulate the process. So try to eat protein with every meal. If you're big into protein bars and drinks, read the labels. Make sure, they may have a lot of protein, but they may also have a lot of ingredients that you really don't want to eat. So if you are living off protein bars and shakes, just make sure you know what else is in those as well.
Renee, I think many people, whether they're sitting at their computers a lot more, or just that afternoon lull when your energy does get low. For me, it's kind of all day, but let's say the afternoon is, so I often will go to fruit or dark chocolate. Or I know you mentioned a lot of the fibrous foods that are good. Is there certain snacks throughout the day to boost that energy to get us through to the next meal? Because it's not even so much that I'm hungry, although I often am. It's more the energy lull that I get in the afternoon.
Yeah, and that's actually what I was leading into. Is you want to snack smart.
Okay.
So you want to. It really, and I think fiber, protein, things that I've said, anything with high protein, high fiber will really help you even when you're snacking.
Okay.
So try to continue when you're eating, make sure you get, protein, fibers, fats throughout the day when you are snacking. Eat smaller meals through the day. That may help. And, try to have a small snack or meal every 3 to 4 hours. That way it keeps you're not going to get on that, blood sugar roller coaster. You're not going to have that energy. The one thing I will say is you want to stop eating at a certain point, usually around 3 hours before bedtime, because you do want to get your body into that mode that, so it can go to sleep. So there is a time where you should really stop the snacking and then let your body digest and start preparing for nighttime, for bedtime.
Great.
So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thanks.
Awesome. And then number 8, this is a big one, limit alcohol. So we all know, I think we all know anybody who drinks alcohol, it does kind of have it kind of puts you in sedation. It kind of calms you down. So if you want to avoid the mid-afternoon slump, you want to avoid having alcohol during lunch. If you want to have energy in the evening, you may want to avoid the 5 o'clock cocktail or the cocktail after work. So, and if you are planning to drink, just do it in moderation. At a time you don't mind having low energy, because that will happen. So, and also I will, because I like to talk about sleep, alcohol will calm you down and will help you get to sleep faster, but it does reduce the amount of REM sleep you get and diminishes your quality of sleep. So just be careful with that as well. Okay.
I don't know if you can answer this, and it's off topic, but when I do have some cocktails or alcohol, as you say, you can fall asleep quickly, but it's like 2 o'clock, bing, I'm wide awake, and my husband will be snoring. So is there a reason for this, or is that me? Or do you have an explanation?
I don't really have an explanation, but I do know, and I think, because I was talking to Chris about this too, because I had written a little article on alcohol in general, and I think it was around, if 1 glass of alcohol, it takes your body so many hours to actually get it through your system, because your body is treating it like a poison. So it does take, your body will metabolize it, but I want to say like 8 hours. I think that's what it said. I think from what I remember, it takes your body quite a bit of time. That's 1 drink. So, yeah. But I have the same issue you do. If I do have wine or whatever at night, I will be up. Yeah. I will be up. And I used to wear a Fitbit, and now I have a Garmin watch, but it's funny to see what my stats look like after a night of having wine versus having no alcohol at all, is that my REM goes up, my deep sleep goes up. Yeah. And it's the same with actual, like, taking pills to help you sleep, like pills that make you drowsy. I'm not saying necessarily sleeping pills, but pills that actually make you drowsy, like muscle relaxers or anti-nauseant or something. I find that those will put you in a light sleep, but they don't really get you good quality sleep either, which will affect your energy the next day. I find that if I have to take anything like that, my energy the next day is not as good. So, yeah.
I remember you talking about alcohol in that the body attacks it first, get it, flush it out. And what it does is it stops flushing out all the other stuff. So whatever meal you've had, whatever fats you may have ingested at the time when you're eating, get absorbed into the body because the body's getting rid of the alcohol.
Yes.
And therefore, when you drink, it's not necessarily the alcohol that's making you fat. It's the fact that your body's shutting down, breaking down everything else around it, and just dealing with the alcohol.
And that is true. And that reminded me, you know what, Jen, I do remember, if you follow any Chinese medicine at all,
Right.
so the body clock between, I think 2 or 3 in the morning, that's when your liver is metabolizing and processing. So
makes sense.
Yeah. I forgot about that. I can't believe I forgot about that, but yes, that's probably why you're getting that. And that's, you know, it reminded me when Chris was saying that, yeah, that's it. And that's probably that too. Yeah. Your body really will try to get the poison out of the system first.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And last but not least, tip number 9, and this is a good one, be social. So social connections are incredibly important for maintaining our health in general. But I've read that in certain areas of the world with unusually low rates of disease and a high number of people who live to be over 100 years old, one of the common factors is a strong social support network. So people with stronger social networks are thought to have better physical and mental health as they age. So if you feel tired and you have low spirits, it can actually be helpful to get out and socialize with friends or join a club or start a new hobby that gets you out and about. Yeah. Social isolation in general can cause low mood and tiredness, especially as you get older.
Wow.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting, but it's true. I've felt it. You know, there's times where you don't really want to go out because you're just, you're tired. You want to stay in, put your PJs on, but then you get out
and you get energized.
You get energized and you're like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't even want to go out, but now I'm happy that I did. Yeah. So those are my tips.
And
those are it. So I hope you guys, I hope they were useful. I enjoyed putting all these together for sure. So
absolutely. Does anyone on the right now have any questions related to metabolism or energy that we have Renee that we could tap into? And if not, we can certainly, which leads perfectly into Renee. I didn't properly introduce you at the beginning, just time-wise, because we were a little lost in the live and I put the wrong address. So I apologize to everyone that watches this afterwards. I guess it's not going to affect you, but I had the pleasure of meeting Renee probably about 6 weeks ago, just networking, and we have many commonalities. And Renee is, local. She lives in Toronto and is a vitality and nutrition coach. So if anyone is interested in reaching out to you, how would they do that, Renee?
So I will, I have a Facebook group called Fabulous Over 40, because I typically work with men and women over 40. And so I have a group. I also have a website, and I can put the information, in the comments on the, when you post this for sure.
Great.
And, and I do want to mention that I do have, if you have trouble sleeping, I actually have a free challenge coming up. It's a 5-day Sleep Better challenge coming up mid-June, and it will be in my Facebook group. So it's just going to be for the members of the group in there. And it should be a lot of fun. And I do have a program for boosting energy as well. And so I do one-on-one and group coaching. I love doing the group coaching, and I love doing wellness workshops. So I host a bi-weekly webinar series as well. And I bring in guest speakers and talk about all kinds of things, health and wellness.
Absolutely. Well, that sounds great. And we'll definitely get your contact posted, Renee, so people can reach out. And I'm a part of your challenge. So I'm, although knock on wood, I have been sleeping quite well, but you never know. You never know about. And now I know why that 2 o'clock, that makes sense. I'm just going to start drinking earlier. No, I'm kidding. I was listening. I was listening. That's not going to help. Okay. I might just stop drinking.
You know what? I say that, and then people that know me know that's
everything
not
in
true.
Moderation. Everything in
exactly.
moderation.
Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
I cannot thank you enough, Renee. I mean, I've gotten to know you a little bit more, and you certainly have helped me in many ways. But coming onto the group and being the first person to present, and I learned a lot. So I'm hoping that that everyone that is watching live or that will see the recording will get something out of it as well, and be able to get in touch with you, whether they're part of your challenge or your Facebook group. I love seeing your posts whenever you do them.
Awesome. Thanks.
Great.
Well,
all right.
Does anybody else have any questions before we, Oh, is that a question or is that just clapping from Deb? I think she's clapping.
Clapping?
Okay. I think it's clapping.
It is clapping. I was just trying different buttons, but good job.
Thanks.
Thanks, Deb. I've never seen that feature.
So I truly did enjoy it. So I thought, well, let me try to be positive here. And then it was like,
Oh, it was very positive.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
No, it was great tips and great job, Renee. So thanks again.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Guys.
Okay.
Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.